All right, the green flag is shown, so the Macau Formula 4 race qualifying session is now live. But it takes a few seconds for that message to percolate down the pit lane, but it has done so now.
Yep, so Formula 4 cars make their way out onto the gear circuit here at Macau for the 4th year running for qualifying. 2020 through to 2023, Formula 4 cars have featured here, and they've done a very good job as well. We've had some good racing from Formula 4 cars. They just look nimble, don't they, and neat and tidy, and little on the gear circuit here at Macau. So they can race, they can overtake, the space.
Yeah. They might look narrow and small, but they're certainly not slow. And what were they doing this morning? Well, it was a 2 minutes 30, so that's an average of 146 kilometres an hour.
Yeah, not slow.
It's an average of it.
Not slow.
So very rapid indeed. Everybody has the same Tatuus chassis, Geely 1400 turbo engines. They're on GTI tyres. So for some, it's a new power plant, certainly a new circuit, and possibly a new tyre to run on as well, which is how it should be, really, to level the playing field here.
I've never asked a driver who has come here for the first time whether a simulation of this track is anything like the real thing, because there can be no substitute, really, for the barriers and the walls and the undulations, the ups and downs of the circuit.
Right. And, of course, other factors like these drivers are going to have to cope with a slippery track surface, because your simulator may not take into account the accident in the previous session and what's dropped on the road. So it'll tell you what the track is like, but not necessarily the surface at a given time. But as far as this session is concerned, half an hour should give them plenty of time to get the teeth into it, although 45 minutes was much interrupted and abandoned at the start of the day. But they've had all day to wait, so after an early start, now they're all on the toes, ready to bang in a quick lap.
Well, I hope they are, because it's a long time to wait, isn't it? And it's difficult to keep the focus over the course of a day when you know you've got to get back into the car at the end of the day. We shall see, because you do need absolute 100% concentration and commitment around the gear circuit at Macau. And as they head down towards the Melco hairpin, the single file part of the circuit, constant yellow flag throughout the whole course of competition here at Macau. No overtaking around Melco for obvious reasons. You can't fit two cars side by side. It would be just that one step too far.
I think it's fine going in, it's the coming out that's the real problem.
Oh yes.
So drivers there having to keep away from that cement dust, and then in turn over the timing line now. This is our bend, the last corner of the lap. And then over the timing line down towards Reservoir Bend. And you can see there in the background the Prema car weaving left and right to get the warmth into the tyres. So it's the next lap that we'll start to see some times offered up, although Hadrian David is the man that was first over the timing line. He will perhaps be the driver that sets the benchmark qualifying effort. Hadrian David, who has been racing in a part season of Formula Regional this year, but he drove at Spa and Red Bull after Charlie Wirtz and another driver were taken ill, so there was a need for a sub, and he stepped into the void. Former French Formula 4 champion, so sort of stepping back in terms of the machinery, but it gives him a chance to race at Macau, which he's not had hitherto. So Hadrian David drives number 2. Rafael Narac, his teammate, former Italian F4 racer, started the year, like quite a few of them do, in the UAE Championship in the winter months, and then did another year in Italy, and the new Euro 4 Championship, sort of 4-race mini regional series. And the other driver who is worth watching is Jack Beaton, but he fell off into the barriers this morning as well with quite a bit of damage to the car. So Jack Beaton, if he can stay out of trouble, should be another driver who is, as they say, there or thereabouts.
As far as Freddie Slater was concerned this morning, he left it quite late in the session to show the pace, and that would suggest to me, leading up to it, learning the circuit, which was exactly the point of free practice, because so many of the drivers are rookies around the Macau circuit. But Freddie left it towards the tail end of the session to show his might in free practice.
But there's a confidence in doing it that way as well, isn't there? So he did look very, very strong this morning, Freddie Slater, no question about it. comes here with a big reputation, but also so too does number 7, Thiago Rodriguez, who is from the Asia Racing Team, another Macau driver. 6 wins in the Chinese F4 Championship this year. He leads that by 50 points, and Thiago Rodriguez, or TR8 as he has made his brand, will be another driver to watch, although he never got a lap time in because of all the stoppages this morning. So he starts qualifying a little bit on the back foot. Right, Adrien David does a 2:29.396, so that's better than Freddie Slater did in free practice this morning, straight away. So a bit more rubber has gone down on the road over the day, hasn't it?
Certainly has, yeah. Totally green circuit this morning. It's a normal road. These are the roads around Macau from 6 o'clock at night until 6 o'clock in the morning. And of course, this is day 1 of competition, so the rubber has gone down all day as the day has gone on. Probably most notably from the GT3 cars that have just been out. I would imagine big, wide tyres on GT3 car.
Right, Rafael Narak, absolute best in the first sector, as there is Jack Beaton, number 45, turning out of Lisboa. Now through San Francisco. It's great names for corners here. There are many old school circuits, Bathurst, Le Mans amongst them, where you've got proper corner names, not just turns 1, 2, 3 and so on, but some good names for corners. And Jack Beaton presses on, so personal best sector 1 as he drops down the hill now.
Arvin Lindblad has just put in the overall best in the first sector, 25.8. So car number 23 with an overall best in sector 1. Adrien David with an overall best in sector 2 and 3. And Adrien David looking pretty good in car number 2, topping the times at the moment, 2:29.396, and that is likely to be eclipsed on this lap, I reckon. That was on the first of the flying laps at 2:29.3, and with 2 personal bests and an overall best on the first 3 sectors. Let's wait and see what happens in sector 4.
Again, track position quite important in all of this. You want to not really get yourself caught up behind the traffic, as you look at number 14 of Rashid Al Bahiri, the Emirati. That was the one nation I missed out on that roll call earlier. The UAE represented as well, courtesy of Al Bahiri, who's only recently come out of Carter's first season of car racing. And interestingly, lots of different people taking purples. Adrien David, Martinius Stenson and Arvin Lindblad across the course of that most recent lap.
And Lindblad has got 2, sector 1 and sector 3. This is going to be a good lap. We've got a personal best in sector 4. Let's see what sector 5 certainly is going to be a move up from position 13. I think it's going to be quite an impressive one as well, with 2 purples and sector 5 about to be completed for the 23 car. Lindblad about to come through, car number 23, and complete the second of the flying laps and goes 3rd. So car number 23 then with a 28.054 goes 3rd. Narak is 2nd and David is 1st.
So that means it's 1-2 at the moment for RHGP. Arvin Lindblad, the British driver, Red Bull athlete, who's done most of his racing abroad in Italian F4. Only made his debut at the back end of 2022, but Arvin Lindblad 5th in the UAE Championship at the start of the year, 3rd in the Italian Championship. So although he's a British driver, electing not to race in the UK, but going to Italy where there's a different range of circuits, and with the Theodore Racing squad, Lindblad a man to watch. Although he was another one in the tyres this morning, wasn't he?
He was. Although a few drivers have elected not to do their racing predominantly in the UK. UK drivers, well, Lando Norris was doing UK championships and European championships in the same year. So just about racing every weekend. There's a lot to be said for keeping sharp, and it's certainly paid off for Lando, hasn't
it? It has indeed. I mean, budget helps to do that.
It does,
but yes, he was doing GB3 and dipping out to go and do Italian and German F4.
Yeah,
quite right. So it was a pretty busy season for him. So Adrien David is the fastest. Freddie Slater at the moment is 4th. So it's David, Narak, Lindblad, Slater, then Charles Lung and Martinius Stenson, with Thiago Rodriguez 7th. Jack Beaton is 8th. Rashid Al Bahiri 9th. And Enzo Yer in 10th at the moment.
Interested in Lindblad's time again this time, because has gone purple in sectors 1 and 3. Adrian Davids with a purple in sectors 2 and 4 and about to complete sector 5 for car number 2. Here we go, about to come up towards the timing beam. What's this final sector going to be for Adrian Davids? It's another purple and a further improvement on the provisional pole time. 2:26.617, 2:26.617 for Adrian Davids. And what about for Arvid Lindblad with 2 purple sectors as well in sectors 1 and 3. What's sector 5 going to be? Lap time about to be completed. Currently he's 3rd in car number 23 and will come over the line to complete the lap and go top. So a purple in sector 3. Arvid Lindblad goes top with a 2:25.778. A new car on provisional pole.
So Arvid Lindblad, as you say, quicker by nearly a second, because 8/10 is a big margin.
That's a huge chunk, isn't it?
It is. Now here you've got cars running in traffic, but I just wonder whether that's a beneficial tow or not as they come into Lisboa. It's Freddie Slater getting up the inside, so clears there. Number 14, Rashid Al Lahiri, and starts to pull away, but now Freddie Slater only 6th in the times because Charles Leung has gone 3rd. Martinius Stenson is 5th, but having got up through the traffic, Freddie Slater now ought to be able to push on.
So we're going to watch Lindblad on this lap as well and keep an eye on the timing screen, because not only has gone top but also has got overall best in the first sector, not so in sector 2. So Lindblad a little slower, not even a personal best in sector 2, but currently on provisional pole, 2:25.778, 8/10 of a second the advantage, almost a second.
Red
and that's
flag.
the first one.
That is Kai Darianani. So Kai Darianani is off at the exit of Lisboa. He's almost made it round the corner, but tried to turn it rather than go up the escape road. It's not worked.
Yeah.
So wait for the impact behind, loses the back, and that's his session done. Where is he? 9th in the times, and that's it for Kai Darianani.
So a reasonably low speed bump into the wall has caused a fair bit of damage on that car, hasn't it? Front and rear.
Yeah, I think he arrived too rapidly, tried to turn, hence the angle that the car's hit the barrier at.
It's just an unfortunate angle, you're right. Yeah. So rear suspension, rear wing, and I think maybe the front suspension as well on the left.
I think you're right. It doesn't look quite right, does it, there?
No.
But not surprising, given that it's gone in with a fair old whack.
So a lift is a fairly quick thing. You can see the hook from the crane already poised over the car, ready to haul the car out of the way down at Lisboa. But a red flag means they come into pit lane through the Melco hairpin, thread their way down towards the pit lane, and they will have 18 minutes of the session remaining. So Arvid Lindblad, car number 23 on provisional pole, 2:25.778 by a big chunk of time, 0.8 of a second over Adrian David. Car number 2, 2:26.617 for David. Charles Leung, car number 11, double winner here at Macau, is 3rd. Where is Freddie Slater? Down there in 6th place at the moment, car 27.
Yeah, he'd yo-yoed a bit, but as you say, dropping to 6th, ahead of Rodriguez Beaton, Darianani, and then Al Lahiri.
So Formula 4 cars back at Macau, which is really good news. We became fans over the last 3 years, didn't we, of Formula 4 cars around the Gears circuit.
Oh, yes.
And really good news that we can have them both. I don't know what the potential would be for running 2 single-seater on a normal one-race weekend.
When there's a will.
Yeah, because traditionally we've only had 1 single-seater category, haven't we? And it has been for Formula 3 cars and Formula 4 cars in the last 3 years. So we celebrate 40 years since our first Formula 3 race for the Macau Grand Prix crown.
I suppose part of the answer depends on whether you assume that Formula 3 would come every year, because we've proved that the Macau Grand Prix can run for F4. we're proving again this year that it can attract an international lineup.
Yes.
And maybe, you know, this is a test to say, well, OK, look, Formula 4 will be a really good headline race, and maybe we have F3 occasionally. Perhaps.
There's an option. Yeah. Yeah.
Because for the teams, of course, they want to go and do winter testing. So to come to a non-championship race in Macau, it's got to have a big draw. I think it still does. And the fact that there are drivers coming into F3 and indeed the F4 race so they can race at Macau does illustrate that. You know, how many returnees have we got next week? Dan Ticktum as a double winner wants to come back. You've got Marcus Armstrong, who's stepping back from IndyCar because he wants to come and race at Macau again. So you know, there's always an attraction. Dan
Ticktum is a bit more like the Antonio Felix da Costa. So comes back after a few years. Felix da Costa was doing DTM at the time that he came back and wanted to win a second time, and did.
Yeah.
And Dan Ticktum has been doing Formula E this year, hasn't he? Has come back, he wants to win a third time. So that's a good way of writing your name into a record book, isn't it?
Absolutely so. Qualifying session, when it does restart, 18 minutes will remain. There you can see the engineers waiting for the flag to be shown at the end of the pit lane, which it now is. Go, 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 they say. The drivers need no encouragement to blast down the pit road.
You know what I'm doing? I'm looking it up now. I need to know.
Yes. Go on Twitter, somebody would have answered the question for you. So the field pouring out of the pits. 1 or 2, I think, might just be lagging back a little bit to try and get some clear track space. Luigi Comita being one of them. So down to Lisboa they come. Track live once again, and the clock ticks on down with currently Arvin Lindblad, the man on pole position, from Hadrien David and then Charles Leung. Are we going to get a Macau driver onto pole position come the end of the session? Well, it could well happen. There in 68 is Ethan Ho, back from racing in America this last season. So right off roundabout 3.5 minutes for the outlap. Some drivers trying to get themselves through traffic, some drivers trying to let the traffic go so that they can fall behind it and let that wave of cars pull away, and then they've got the road to themselves. So different strategies from different drivers, possibly with a bit of help from the teams to say, right, just drop back, let those cars go.
So this is the outlap after interruption with a red flag, which has been pretty much the story of today for not just the Formula 4 cars, but for pretty much every category that we've got racing here this weekend at Macau. Most of the free practice sessions, all of the free practice sessions were interrupted by at least one red flag, and the qualifying sessions have proved to be pretty much that way this afternoon as well. So. Yes. Just one qualifying session that we've had without a red flag, and that was a 15-minute Q2 for the TCR Asia cars.
With 11 cars?
With 11 cars, yes, with 11 cars.
So if you were to bounce off the walls, potentially. Yeah. But when cars have circulated, they give them drama all day, and tomorrow is going to be a pretty full-on day with a busy timetable of races. Out of our bend, then number 19, Bianca Bustamante, up toward the line. 11th fastest she is at the moment. Another one that we've not yet got a time out of is number 5 of Jaden Parriott. Now, I don't remember that car being in any of the accidents this morning.
No.
Nor do we have a time out of 22 of Thomas Leung. But I do remember him causing a red flag earlier on in the
day. Yeah. Yeah, but Parriott, no. Don't remember mentioning that car at all over the course of today. Looking at the 19 car, that's Bianca Bustamante, and has just done a personal best in Sector 1. Many of them have, apart from Arvid Lindblad, who is on provisional pole. The time to aim for, 2:25.778. Now, Adrien David has gone purple in Sector 2. Overall best in Sector 2 for Adrien David. who is in car number 2 in second place. Charles Learn is third. Personal best in sector 1 for Charles. Nothing special in sector 2. And for Lindblad, nothing special in sector 2 either. So after the restarts, Lindblad not yet pushing on, but you would expect maybe at the end of this lap the pace to increase. Maybe looking for a bit of clear track to set up another quick lap for the provisional pole sitter.
And traffic, and therefore clear laps, becoming quite a factor here. Freddie Slater, whose car was looking a bit edgy on this lap, has now got caught up behind a slower car, and that's the lap compromised. So he was down in the sectors anyway, but he needs to clear that promptly. And he's not going to do it, I don't think, before the Melco hairpin, so it's going to have to be coming down through Black Sands, where he's able to start to up the pace and think about the next lap as the quick one.
Martinius Stenshorn has put in an overall best in sector 2. 34 car is currently in 5th place. So purple in sector 2 for Martinius, and a purple in sector 3 for Adrian, and another red flag.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. 13 minutes on the clock, and that's quite a substantial accident for number 34, Martinius Stenshorn. So the man that's 5th fastest has taken the front right corner off the car.
I've just put in a purple in sector 2 as well.
Right, okay. So in sector 3 of the lap, Stenshorn off, damage, stoppage.
And 13 minutes remain.
Yeah.
2 red flags in this qualifying session so far for the Macau Formula 4 race. And Martinius and the car stricken. Oh, there's the rear wing. Somewhere divorced from the car. And it's brought out the red flag, unfortunately. Oh, that's not...
Yeah, front wing it was.
Front wing,
it's been
front
ripped
wing.
off, yeah.
Big bump.
So the cars come to the pit lane, then the instructions can be given that marshals can go trackside, then they can get that car out of the way. Crane attached. So again, frustration, because nobody had really been able to get into a rhythm at all. We haven't had a lap, had we? So back they come. Number 16 there, which is Chukar Kam. Parks into place. That's you.
Once again, an opportunity for the crowd to... it never fails to amuse, does it? Seeing yourself up. Oh, so look, not worried about looking at the screen, looking straight at camera, straight into the camera.
Not everybody was fascinated. I think there was somebody still doing their online shopping there who was studiously staring at her phone rather than anything else. Number 14, the background, Rashid Al-Mahiri, and that's Ethan Ho, you can see it forward.
Yeah. So they really have turned out in their thousands, haven't they, today for qualifying day for the first weekend of the 70th Macau Grand Prix celebration here in Macau.
But a huge amount of effort has been put in over the last few weeks to starting off this carnival, whether it's been the art exhibition, whether it's been the special merchandise, whether it's been the family carnival, the fun run, you name it. So many more things than just cars on track.
Good build-up, isn't it? Yeah, superb. It takes over the place.
It does.
Not just for the weekend, as it would normally be. This year it's for 2 weekends, but also the whole of the build-up as well. It's something that Macau are incredibly proud of, this event, and rightly so. It just gets better and better every year, and more iconic as well. It's just the yellow and black seems to grow every year. Everywhere I look, there is yellow and black in the hotels, all celebrating the fact that it's Grand Prix week.
Totally embraced.
Yeah, totally behind it.
And if it didn't exist, I wonder what the reaction would be now if somebody enterprising came along and said to the regional government, why don't we have a motor race around the streets? You know, close it for 12 hours of the day. But now it's such an integral part of Macau that it's a definite yes. Vivian Su for Champ Motorsport sits and awaits the resumption. Hong Kong driver. Works for a hedge fund company. And recently voted the company's second best regional saleswoman. And her partner, Tiffany Jane, Netflix star of Supermodel Me. guys have it down in the pit lane. Vivian Su, yep, gets ready to go back out again. And the Chinese Formula 4 Championship she's been seen this year. Car number 11 is that of the aforementioned Charles Leung.
Currently third, car number 11, Charles. Just a cool, calm and relaxed thumbs up for the camera. But, currently third place. And the recovery vehicle in place to get the 34 car back to the paddock, let the team assess the damage on that car, and hopefully for Martinez, who is out of the car and about to climb in the cab of the recovery vehicle, hopefully that car can be repaired before too long. It's a good grid position at the moment, so how much he will lose as the session goes on without that car competing, well, we shall find out in 13 minutes of competition. We can get together start time for the resumption of this qualifying. Licio Hua, 53 car, 8-star racing entered car.
Session will restart on a short call, is partly the answer to your question. There is no time given, it'll just be, right, let's go. Because we're nearly at 4:30. I'm not saying it's going to take an hour and a half to do 13 minutes, but, you know, we're getting closer to the time of the day where the track has to be handed back over to Macau motorists.
And 5:30, it is pretty much dark.
Yeah,
it's
true.
not fully dark, but the sky is certainly dark. I know because when I arrived here the other day, I opened the windows of the curtains of the hotel and just looked out to see just how quickly it gets dark.
Yeah.
Half an hour between 5:30 and 6. 6 o'clock, completely dark sky.
Do you have a track view, do you, from your window?
I can see a sliver.
Okay.
I'm not sure I can see a car. I'm hoping to catch a motorcycle helmet.
Slither is a new single season.
Yeah.
Right, back in business. Green flag shown then, 13 minutes on the clock. And interesting that when it was the original start of the session, everybody wanted to be out now. Let me through, I want to be first out. But this time around, there's a little bit more waiting, biding of time, perhaps letting the wave of traffic go so you don't get caught up in anything.
So the session gets back underway. That's the 23 car of Arvid Lindblad, who currently sits on provisional pole at 2:25.778, but the car remains here in pit lane, which I reckon is a pretty good idea, really.
Yeah, go along with that. Yeah, for the moment they can afford to just sit and wait, can't they?
Yep. With provisional pole time, and poor old Martinez Stenzel, although at the moment the screen says that sector 2 was a purple, what followed in sector 3 was unfortunately a damaged car. 77 having a problem. That's the car of Enzo Yer, reversing back at Lisboa, puts it back into first gear, and when safe can rejoin, and does so now. That escape road at Lisboa is very, very beautiful.
Cheers.
And particularly with cold tyres, you could just get things a little bit not quite right at Lisboa, and taking the option of going straight on, turning the car around and thinking again. You've not lost much on an outlet. You are just basically trying to get the tyres back up to temperature, so not too much loss there. And that's exactly what this lap is. It's the push lap to get heat back into tyres. And then we'll see over the remaining 11 minutes if Arvid Lindblad can hold on to pole position for tomorrow's qualification race, which is the first activity on track in the morning. And as memory serves me, that's at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, local time. It is 8 o'clock for an 8-lap race, qualification race. And then at the end of the afternoon, at 20 to 4, it is the final race, 12 laps. It is not the Macau Grand Prix, but for the last 3 years, these cars have been.
Yes, but it is perhaps the first in a chapter for Macau Formula 4 race, which could well be part of the calendar to come. Let's see, because the fact that you've got such an international cast proves the appeal is there, the desire to race is there. So over the line goes number 11, that is Charles Leung, another of the SJM Theodore Prema Racing drivers. And he makes the run now down towards the fast right of Mandarin. So Arvind Lindblad, a late return to the track for the pole position driver, but he's gone back out. So to Freddie Slater.
Yeah, Freddie, who topped the times in free practice this morning, British driver, down there in 6th place, and has left pit lane along with Lindblad as well.
Just have a look at the nose cone on Charles Leung's car for me. Has he tweaked that slightly, or is it my tired eyes? I just wondered whether it wasn't just ever so slightly askew. It looks slightly more wobbly than others.
It is wobbly, I'll grant you that. It is wobbly a little bit. And yet previously, if memory serves me, Charles Leung in the previous 2 years, just over the course of the weekend, didn't put a wheel wrong. It was absolutely textbook driving for Charles.
Talking of wheels wrong.
Yeah.
That's a single digit, isn't it? That's one of the R-Ace cars. I think that is either Rafael Narak or Hadrian David, and it's another red flag.
Is that the third?
That's the third, so we're equal to free practice.
With 9 minutes remaining. And we said it this morning during free practice, the problem with this is that obviously you have to have a red flag, you've got to get the track clear, the car is in a dangerous position, there's debris on the circuit. But you can't get into that flow, can you, over the course of lap after lap after lap. And it must be a frustration for the drivers to get into a flow, being able to do a lap, do another lap, do another lap, try something different, just by tiny margins, but you can't do it, can you? It's just interrupted again and again. So, Adrien David, car number 2, currently in second position. And for Adrien, it was a personal best in sector 1 and an overall best in sector 3 on that lap. So, might have been slightly unhappy. This is what happened. That was quite a clonk as well.
It was as well, yes, you're quite right. Lifting the back of the car off the ground, that might well have done more damage than just suspension. But
that was heavier than I thought, having seen the car where it rested. So
I'd like to see what the line was coming into the corner. We saw what it did by clattering the barrier. Thanks for that, yes. But why was he on the wrong line? Because certainly something went awry. Arvind Lindblad, then, fastest in the session. You might hang on to that if nobody can string together a couple of laps. But it really has been the most extraordinary day with so many interruptions. Not just in one category, but everything.
Everything, absolutely everything.
No, almost as though everybody is so dim-ob happy to be here.
I was going to say, they were a little bit overexcited.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
So that is Adrien David. It was Raymond Narak that was in the wall. And Adrien David's car good to go.
Is there a rule on number of red flags during a qualifying session?
No, I think it can be at the organiser's discretion.
Yeah.
But no, normally, if there is time left, then you would run the session to its conclusion. If the timetable is constraining you, then you might, with 2 minutes remaining, say, no, we just can't do this. But there isn't, to my understanding of them, a regulation that says if you've had 3 red flags, that's it.
I didn't think.
It's been quite a good way of trialling that. They've gone on with it under the radar, as it were.
Yeah.
And
not with the pressure of the audience,
no, exactly.
Television cameras, all of that. It was, let's just see how this is going to work, iron out the problems, and now you're ready for big score.
Exactly, yes. Come back next year and you've had your taster date.
Yeah.
So there are the fans all finding themselves on the big screen, all happy. So the pit lane is still busy, and the course cars are not yet back in, but we are hopeful that they won't be too far off now.
So local time is 20 to 5 in the afternoon, and just in the last couple of minutes we've lost a little bit of light, haven't we?
Yeah, I mean, it's never been the brightest and sunniest of days. It's not been cold by any means, but it's not been sunny like yesterday was. Just seen that snatch vehicle, the flatbed, off the track. So are we a little bit nearer to getting things back underway? The teams think we are. They're getting ready to wave the cars out. So again, I suspect it'll be a call on short notice, but those course cars are still out there somewhere.
Yes. 9 minutes and 1 second of this session remain. 3 red flags in the course of this half-an-hour session.
3 red flags so far.
So far. No, that's it.
Okay.
We're done.
We're done.
So we can have 9 minutes and 1 second until the checkered flag of beautiful trouble-free laps.
Okay. That would be good news. It would be very welcome, that is for sure. So drivers are ready. Teams are ready. So we just need now the word from race control. Rui Marquez, who is a very experienced race official, is the race director. And he will give the instruction. And the course cars, no, still not yet back in.
Wow.
I thought they were, but I was looking at the wrong lane because there is the public road that's
Real
parallel to
life.
pit in. Yes. And there were people carriers coming down there, which slightly hoodwinked me.
We're in our little Macau Grand Prix bubble within
Yes.
within the confines of the circuit.
There they are. So they're coming down the
There you
hill.
go. Okay.
Session will resume again on short notice. So in the pit lane, there's a whole flicker of lights. The rear lights on the cars flash as the engines are on idle.
Which is terribly disconcerting when you go into Parc Ferme and you're greeted by, because they're all on a different flash,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah.
So it's just like a really weird disco.
Does it come with a warning? There might be flashing
should
lights.
do.
Yes. Right then, the officials in the pit lane prepare themselves for the call. It's the scene. Red flag still shown.
And what are the questions that we still have to answer for this session? Maybe one of my biggest questions is, what is Freddie Slater going to do? He has impressed in Ginetta Juniors in the UK this year. He has impressed when he came into F4 on his first weekend. He impressed this morning at Macau, first time on the circuit, and topping the times in free practice. But he's currently, and I say in inverted commas, only 6th.
Well, if the session stays green long enough for him to get a flying lap in, I would think he would improve.
Yes,
But
I would agree.
it's a bit, in that respect, it's slightly out of his hands, isn't it?
Well, probably his best improvement would be to 5th, because Martinius Stenshorn is out of the running now after causing one of the red flags. I can't remember if it was the first or the second.
I think he was the second.
Second, yeah. But, we are on short call to get the session back underway.
Right, there's a course car hurtling down towards our bend. There should be another one in the vicinity, so we can't be too far away. What they've been out to look at, I'm not sure.
No, we're not too sure.
But they're both there, so we should be good to go now, because by the time the track is live, the other course car will be in the pit lane.
Restart at 45. We are 44, 40 seconds away from getting this session back underway.
Okay.
Local time just coming up to 4:45 in the afternoon on Saturday, day 1 of 6 for the 70th Macau Grand Prix celebration. 2 days this weekend and 4 days starting Thursday next week.
By which stage we'll know the winner of the Macau Formula 4 race. This very, very impressive, very international entry, ready to do battle for the grid for 9 further minutes. The course car has just arrived back. It is largely local officials, I think, that have been out for an inspection lap. And the pit lane starts to empty then. Green lights go on at the end of the pit lane. Bianca Bustamante waved away, but others already in the train, so she's going to have to wait and try and slot in at the end. So we're back and running then for qualifying for the Macau Formula 4 race.
So all of that work to do once again now, getting the heat back up into the tyres. Bianca gets going, joins the train in the number 19 car, and this is the work in hand on this lap, weaving the cars, heating tyres, everything up to temperature, and then we've got potentially a good few laps of running for this final qualifying session of the day. Tomorrow morning, things get underway with their race, their qualification race, 8 laps. So we're straight into racing tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, over 8 laps around the Gears circuit. Then the first of 2 races for TCR Asia Challenge, so touring car racing follows single-seaters. Macau Road Sports, 2 races for GT Cup, second race for TCR Asia, and then the big race, the final race for the Macau Formula 4 race coming up at 20 to 4 tomorrow afternoon.
And this is these cars that will be on track for that. So Arvin Lindblad remains at the moment the fastest. Drivers doing good sectors on this lap are of interest, but it's all a bit academic because it's only the out lap. It's next time around that you need to be doing that. What it does do, I suppose, is A, prove their pace, and B, get them away from any traffic behind.
7 minutes and 20 seconds of this session remaining. So all things being well, we get green flag running right the way until the checkered flag now. But they are not going to get that many laps, are they? With 7 minutes left on the clock, just over. I've said it many times today, it's a long lap here at Macau. It has every conceivable test of driver and machine. Tight and twisty, flowing and fast corners. But one thing remains the same, no runoff area. Barriers, walls, everything to contend with.
Right, just over 6.5 minutes to go as the first car comes out of Fisherman's Bend down to our bend now. Of course, the other element to tomorrow is, we've talked about what the grid is going to do. You're still going to get through that qualification race, that qualifying race, to get a good grid position for the main race itself at the end of the day. So a little bit like we discussed in the context of touring cars earlier, you're still all the time having to keep thinking forward and survive this, concentrate on the next element of the weekend. Right, so now we're on to a flying lap for the people that have crossed the line, which include here Hadrian David and also Jack Beaton. So Hadrian David currently second. He's got to find 0.840 to go fastest by 1,000.
So Hadrian David at the front of that queue, heads into Lisboa, kisses the curbs on the entry up towards San Francisco, and then the run up San Francisco Hill. This is where the circuit just comes in on you from the left and from the right. The wall on the right, the barrier on the left, gets narrower. 2-lane traffic now. When the circuit opens up, it's dual carriageway. 2 either way. And,
now, what about improvements? We've got 1 or 2 which are rogue. Kai Darianani, for example, who's out of the session. But Jack Beaton, I think, will be one to watch. He is improving. Martinius Stensorn had done before he crashed out, so we can ignore him. And Rafael Narat also before he crashed out. So the most recent improvers have all come to grief somehow.
We still can't ignore the fact that Martinius, before he had that accident, had done the purple sector in sector 2, because no one's gone better. He's still there on the screen as being in purple. Adrien Davies has just gone purple in sector 3. So car number 2 in second place at the moment has got a personal best in sector 2, an overall best in sector 3. And what can Hadrian David do in car number 2 on this first flying lap after the resumption, after the 3rd red flag of this qualifying session for F4? Well, quick through the Melco hairpin and very, very close to the barrier on the exit, I thought.
Right, Hadrian David, 2 absolute bests here. So number 2, the former French champion, looking good. It's up to him really to uphold RA's GP honour here as he fights the car into Fisherman's Bend. Again, he's right up against the wall. He found all that cement dust there. Traction broke for a moment, but he got away with that. But that would have given him a big heart-in-mouth moment. Hadrian David now then turns right out of our bend. The timing line beckons. He's got to try and beat a 2:25.7, and he breaks the beam now with a 2:25.4. Really good lap.
Goes top. So Hadrian David up towards provisional pole. For the first time in a long time, Arvid Lindblad is demoted down to second place, car number 23 in second place. So bear in mind that Hadrian David was 0.8 of a second behind, wasn't he, in second place? That was a really pretty stellar lap. And yeah, I think the proof of that was kicking up the dust and being really rather spectacular. Coming, I thought, quite close to the barrier at Melco hairpin on the exit as well. But purple for the final of the lap was enough to go. Provisional pole 2:25.4, 3 minutes and 19 seconds of the session remain, because Freddie Slater has gone top. Thank you. You saw it and I didn't.
Well, a 2:25.4 is the lap. He's only 19 thousandths quicker than Hadrien David, but he has gone fastest, as you say. Freddie Slater then to the top of the times. Hadrien David fights back. That's Slater then. That's currently the gun driver. But David has done a personal and an absolute best in sectors 1 and 2. It's going to be a really good fight then between these two, as long as the session is live. And already we're down to the last 3 minutes.
You were waiting until I looked to the left-hand side of the screen and looked at the name, weren't you?
Well,
I did say that Freddie leaves it until the end.
No, you're absolutely right.
Did it this morning.
And he just got on with it.
He did, and did it to great effect as well.
And I don't think he's done yet either.
No, I think you're probably right. Car 27 is Freddie Slater's car. 2:25.423. On provisional pole is Freddie. And they are pushing on, because you're quite right. What was the restart time? 9 minutes.
Yeah.
9 minutes and a second. And that's gone in no time.
Absolutely right.
With the outlap and warming up the tyres and all that kind of thing. It is very quickly diminished into 2 minutes and 9 seconds now remaining on the clock. Turning into San Francisco, up San Francisco Hill. And Arvid Lindblad is now down in 3rd place, has just gone purple in sector 3. It's a good battle between these, isn't it?
Now,
So,
depending on where you are on the track, you might get one more lap, you might not. Hadrien David will, Freddie Slater, I think, will. But if you're right at the back of the wave, this could greet you with a checkered flag. So Hadrien David has done 2 personal bests, and then sectors 3 and 4 were a bit slower than hitherto. So again, he runs absolutely up to the wall, breaks the beam now, and the time is fastest, 2:25.131, absolute best last sector. So he's ahead of Slater by 0.292 of a second. That's quite a margin.
2:25.131, 0.292 of a second advantage over Freddie Slater. Freddie Slater on this lap has gone overall best in sector 2, personal best in sector 3, nothing in sectors 1 and 4, and we're waiting for sector 5 to be completed by car number 27, Freddie Slater, up towards the line, goes top, 2:24.938. The
Not
first
for long.
Because Arvid Lindblad has gone quicker, 2:24.568. So they exchange provisional pole positions. This has been great. The restart, 9 minutes of qualifying was all we needed.
And 2 teammates, aren't they, for SJM Theodore Racing, Arvid Lindblad and Freddie Slater. Hadrien David then down to 3rd again. But, you know, that's just over half a second covering those 3. That is good. And it's 1.2 seconds covering the top 4. Charles Leung, best of the rest, 4th fastest. But interesting, isn't it, that he might be the best of the rest, but these pesky interlopers from Europe are ahead. So it is Lindblad and Slater, the 2 Brits, ahead of the Frenchman Hadrien David. Raymond Narak, what's his dad? Raphael Narak, pushed back to 7th. And we've got a mere 10 seconds of the session now.
Hadrien David then with an overall best in sector 2. Arvid Lindblad not happy with pole position. He's just gone personal best in sector 2. Checkered flag is out. So all of them have this final lap to complete qualifying. And Arvid Lindblad on provisional pole position is still pressing on. Personal best in sector 2. Hadrien David has gone overall best in sector 2. What about Freddie Slater? Well, his second is on the front row of the grid, but hasn't even done personal bests in sectors 1, 2 and 3.
He's dropped about 3/10 in sector 3. So I'm a bit worried about this lap for Freddie. I mean, it has looked okay, but not standout.
Looking at Charles Leung as well, the double winner here of the Macau Grand Prix. He's currently in 4th. So exciting has been the battle in the top 3. We've not mentioned Charles Leung for a while. He's there in 4th place. Jack Beaton is 5th. And purple in sector 3 and sector 4 for Arvid Lindblad. Not just content with pole position, he wants to smash his own pole time now. 2:24.568 is the provisional pole time. What is Lindblad going to do on this lap? We're looking at Charles Leung.
And Leung's got effectively a corner to go on this lap. The checkered flag is out, so he will end the session this time. Freddie Slater up to 2nd fastest as he takes the checkered flag, 2:24.842, half a second back from Lindblad. Hadrien David is 3rd. That for the line is Charles Leung, and he's going to stay 4th.
And Lindblad does improve on his own provisional pole time by 2/10, so goes 2:24.293.
So Arvin Lindblad's margin just over half a second from teammate Freddie Slater. The start tomorrow is going to be absolutely crucial between those two, isn't it, to see who gets the run down towards the first corner and how many survive, if you like, coming out of Lisboa. That's going to be the first pinch point.
It certainly will.
And you've got Rafael Larac 7th and Thiago Rodriguez 8th and Martinius Stenshaw 9th, all with points to prove. So quite a lot on the legs of the Red Bull management. So at the end of qualifying, Arvin Lindblad takes the top time from Freddie Slater and Hadrian David. Charles Leung 4th for Rashid Al-Dakhiri and Jack Beaton, with Rafael Larac crashing out but being 7th. Thiago Rodriguez 8th. Martinius Stenshaw crashing out but was 9th. Ethan Ho rounding out the top 10. 11th Bianca Bustamante and 12th Enzo Ye, with 13th in the times Lu Kai-shun. 14th fastest being Mika Kuyama ahead of Kai Darianani, another crasher. Jacques Kumpeng 16th from Chung Man Hei, then Chuika Kam and Riji Kumita, aka Dragon. 20th in the times Lo Si Wei,